Hello, this is Miss Andrea, and this is a video that I never thought I would be making. But in speaking to homeschoolers today, especially homeschoolers who are homeschooling not through a decision of their own, it is finally necessary. Now, the reason that I thought I would never make this video is because I just thought it was condescending to be a homeschool expert and then get up behind a podium and tell people how they run their families. Because when I started homeschooling in 2013, that's what was happening. I was invited to a couple of homeschool conventions, and they'd say, oh, you want to hear this person speak, and you want to hear this person speak. And I'd go in and sit down excitedly, expecting to hear homeschool tips. And what I would get is parenting tips. Wake your children up at this time and sit them in this space and do this work and then make them do all these chores in the middle of the homeschool day. And I found what they were saying preposterous to my own personal sensibilities. So in the back of my mind, I said, that's not something I'll ever do, is to tell someone how to parent their own children. You know, if I ever give any homeschool advice, it'll be specifically about homeschooling, but we are in strange times, are we not? So here are my tips for keeping the parent-child relationship intact while homeschooling. And I did make a video on the parent-child relationship, and I'll link to it, but this one is going to be a little different. So the first thing we have to do is watch the negative comments. Children are what you tell them they are. And I've had arguments with family members for the way that they've spoken about their child, period, but especially within their child's earshot. Never verbalize that a child might be slow. Yeah, never verbalize that a child might be slow to learn. Never call a child names, ugly words like stupid. Even refrain from calling their actions stupid, because you know they'll read it that way. Never say how much you hate a subject, because a child will take that on. Just always find a positive way to say a thing, or don't say the thing. Some things are not necessary to be said. If you're worried about the child's ability to catch on, keep that to yourself and don't talk about it until you know that child is nowhere near you. Because number one, they'll say, yes, that confirms I'm stupid and I can't learn this thing. And so therefore I won't try. So you have to be super careful with negative comments. Pick your battles, guys. And I know it's so hard right now. You have kids who don't want to homeschool, and you didn't want to homeschool. But things being what they are, you've either decided this was the safest thing for your child, or the school has imposed some kind of weird hybrid homeschool, public school thing on your life and your family. So pick your battles. Your children are going to want to eat things they should eat because they have more access to the refrigerator. Your kids are going to want to vegetate in front of the television when they are done with the schoolwork. Your kids are going to want to homeschool under a homemade tent. You know? And within some reason, are these things really bad? Like, what my personal battle that I've talked to many parents about over the years, because they always come to me and say, my child's playing too much video games, and they won't respect me. Like they're being sassy, they're speaking rudely to me, or my child won't sit at their desk and they're being rude to me, or my child, you know, snuck a second vanilla pudding and they're being rude to me. I've always been like the rude. Make them stop doing the rude. The other stuff you can deal with later. But pick the most egregious thing the child is doing and focus in on that. Don't feed that behavior. If a child is sassing at you trying to get a response, you just look at the child and you don't respond. If the child is being physical, you set the child in the corner. Like, you interact with that negativity as little as possible within safety reasons. But you verbalize that. That right there, what you're doing right there, doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to deal with it. And I'm not going to deal with you while you're like that. So I pick the battle. And the battle for me is always the respect issue. Because you can deal with a child's posture being bad while they're learning. I mean, if they want to lay on their stomach while they learn, slide a pillow under there and say, I really need you to lean on something, because having all that weight on your shoulders all day is going to be bad for your neck in the long run. And it is. But it's a small battle. You know what I mean? The extra dessert, okay, you stole the extra dessert today. I'm not going to buy any more for this week. There are subtle ways to deal with those things. But, pick the battle that is just bad. Pick the battle that's a huge character flaw and work on that one. Don't nitpick on things that children do, because they're going to do them. Do you know what I mean? Pick your battles. Pick the egregious thing. Pick the refusal to do any kind of work whatsoever, because that's not homeschooling. Pick the thing that matters the most and work on that one thing. Otherwise, what's going to happen is a child is going to feel picked on. Pick. Yeah, I get it. The child's going to feel like they can't do anything right. So don't nitpick. Hone in on the one thing that you absolutely can't handle and correct that. And once you've corrected that, now you know how to correct the other things, because you know what worked for that child. Family rules. You have to change your family rules. I was going to say you have to have family rules when you're homeschooling, but actually you have to change your family rules. For instance, I initiated a swear jar. It wasn't for them. It was for me. We went on vacation with the content. This is not a TV show. No, this happened. We went on vacation with the contents of that swear jar a few times until I broke the habit. Because your kids are around you 24/7, and you don't want them demonstrating to the world the worst of you. Okay? When I get stressed, I can be a little temper tantrumy. So I initiated a timeout rule. For me. When I was done, when I hit the wall, no matter whether the kids were causing it or just the stress that they was causing it, or I was tired, whatever it was causing me to get into that temper tantrum mode, I would announce that it was time for mommy to take a time out. Mommy is taking a time out because she's not being very nice right now. And I would go up to my master closet and lie down on the floor. And I would stay there for 15 or 20 minutes. And then I would come out. Now, my kids were an age where my absence for a half hour wouldn't cause the house to burn down. We started homeschooling with second and fourth grade. And actually the first 2 years were real chill. It wasn't until they were fourth and sixth that my anxiety and stuff started getting, where I would roar at people. So, but whenever, you know, I saw that we were all getting argumentative, I wouldn't be like, go take a time out. Go take a time out. And I'm going to sit here and eat candy. I'd be like, I'm going to go take a time out. And y'all might want to chill while I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? Like the family rules can't just be about the kids. You have to address your own behavior and feelings. Because if you don't, then how are your children going to learn to address their own behavior and feelings? Is there a theme here? Are we seeing a theme? Grace and second chances. Interestingly enough, these things are ordered, basically how they happened in my house. We got to a point where the kids got just super comfortable with homeschooling, and they got to an age where they started bickering. They would bicker a little bit with me, and their behavior would just be like not becoming. And I would just say, this is not working. What we're doing right here is problematic. We're not going to do that again. And they do it again, and I'd say, okay, I give you a second chance. Y'all get in different rooms. I'm going to go to a different room. I'm going to do my timeout. We're going to do what we're going to do. And we're not going to do this again. So then they would tiptoe around me the rest of the day because they knew I was at the end. And then I would do something unexpected that they didn't deserve, that their behavior didn't warrant. And they would be surprised. When they were at their worst, I would do something or get them something that they did not deserve. And that sounds weird, but I would present it to them, and they'd be like, oh, for me? And I'd be like, yes. And they'd be like, why? And I'd say, grace. And not everyone here is Christian. People question my Christianity because I don't go to church no more. But I would say grace. God gives us grace no matter how bad we are, no matter how unlovable we are being. And so, as your mother, I'm also giving you grace. Your behavior didn't warrant this treat that I just went and got you. But I love you so much that I wanted to give you something anyway. You want to talk about children's heart softening? Man, I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it. And, on that same line, unconditional love is key. Doesn't matter how ugly your kids are being that day. Give them 100% unconditional love at all times. And that means it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they do. When you are done chastising them, when you are done fixing the thing that they just broke, when you are done bandaging one child because the other child damaged them, you then go and you hug it out. You hug it out and you say, there is nothing that you can ever do that is going to make me stop loving you. That shortcuts the child's willingness to be unlovable. Because you notice, foster kids, for instance, they'll just do things and try you to see what that line is where you're not going to love them anymore. Your own natural children do that too sometimes, especially when we start getting into the tween years. They're like, I can make them not love me. There's a line where they're going to stop loving me. And if you prove that otherwise, man, children don't just wrap us around their fingers. We have the ability to wrap children around our fingers if we pay attention. And among all things, retain authority in your household, because the homeschool parent-child relationship can get super cozy children pretty much learn how to run the house because they're there watching you all the time. They make decisions. We used to give our children a budget and have them plan our vacations. We joke with them, we play with them. But, my mom used to do that too. But there was a line where did we cross it? She would go from giggling and laughing to straight staring into your soul and telling you too far. There was a line and you crossed it. So, and for me, it's always about respect. If they cross a line of disrespect, you remind them who's in charge. You retain authority at all times. It is very possible to have a loving, friendly relationship with your child and to still retain authority at all times. At the end of the day, it's all about balance. It's all about balance. Love, fun, relaxation, a safe home. All of these things are quite possible with you still getting the respect you deserve from your children, with proper boundaries, with balance. So, those are my tips for keeping the parent-child relationship intact. Until next time.